Hi, this is Mike Schmitz, and welcome to another edition of Screencasts Online. In this week's episode, we're revisiting Alfred, a popular and powerful application launcher for macOS. And although Alfred is classified as an application launcher, it's actually a very powerful productivity application with a number of amazing features. Now, we've covered Alfred previously, most notably the Alfred Masterclass in episodes 393, 394, and 395. Version 3 of Alfred added quite a bit, including text expansion and rich clipboard history, but the revamp of workflows, one of Alfred's most powerful features, is the focus for this episode. We'll be walking you through the example workflows in Alfred, showing you how to build your own workflows from scratch, and showing you how you can quickly and easily install workflows from online workflow directories. Let's get started.